Sketchbooks for me have always been rarely used or overused and abused, but I've only actually got a handful or less than that I've filled up. Join me today as I go through one of those with you and explore my inspirations. Hi, I'm Charlotte and welcome to my art studio. Sketchbooks for me were a massive thing during college, and it was something that everything went into, from artist studies to experimentation and sort of inspiration for leading up to our final pieces. As someone who did the International Baccalaureate, I had to do a minimum of, I think it was 7 final pieces instead of the one that you do in A-level for each year. And that meant for me there was a lot more exploration into the topic that I chose of black and white. Since then, sketchbooks for me have teetered on and off, and it kind of depended on my mood. So you've seen previously in the other 2 videos that I've done of my sketchbook tours that I have had wild notions of inspiration. And this sketchbook here is one that came about through, I think it was the Inktober project a couple of years ago, where I tried to follow it along, didn't really enjoy myself. I found that I was copying Americans who had already done it, or the people who had already done it that morning during the day, and I didn't think I could come up with anything original because I just had too many sources around me. But it meant that I decided to use this as a solely ink sketchbook. Whether that be fine liner, whether it be biro, it was all kinds of ink. So don't expect massive amounts of paint in here. I don't think there's any, because I tried to really limit myself in this A5 sketchbook. But join me as I have a flick through and look down a little bit of memory lane. So here she is. I don't know what inspired this, can't remember. It was way before I actually started going in this sketchbook. However, you can see that I've added a little bit of gold detail, because why not? Oh, and there's a little bit of silver just in there and there. But this has lasted quite a while, so decorate it. If you want to decorate it, decorate it. I did think about doing the whole front, but clearly that hasn't happened, and I quite like it like this, just that partial. But you can see that I really went for it with this kind of style. And it's a style that I don't think I've done for a while, but it's one of those that you just doodle away and you fill in all the holes, the little shapes, little dots, little lines, flowers, and they all merge together and flow out. And then here, I think it was this one. This one is Inktober. This is a merge of some designs that I did individually on A4 paper, and so these again just came together from those designs. I believe that I was inspired by a bit of architecture with those, as well as some typography. But this was, I think, the proudest moment I had with Inktober, because it was a labour of love, and I still love it now. The fingers are too long, the hands not deep enough, but the aspect of it I really, really like. And it's called Crystal. Coming into days 2 and 3, we've got Suit on the left here and then Vessel on the right. A lot of people use the body or, you know, an actual boat, but my mind went straight to a boat in a bottle. I would say that I am a sailor girl. I'm really not. But I do enjoy being on the water. I don't like being in the water, believe it or not, but do like being on it. And so knot came up and it reminded me of all the sea knots that you see. And a simple raven in a circle. This is where, for spirit and fan, I got a little bit looser with my style. I did reach out to Pinterest, good old Pinterest, for these, just because I just needed that little bit of inspiration. But the layering and the free flowing and just playing around with the movement on the page was quite fun. And then I kept up with the kind of dual style on both pages. So we've got watch and pressure, by the looks of it. So time pressure. And this was of a sand clock? I can't remember what it's called. Sand timer, that's it. That was in the house. And then inspired by a family heirloom as well. You can see that hand's a lot better. It's actually working. Then you got picked and is that sour? Oh, it's because it's a lemon tree. There you go. So again, completely different styles. So we've got really loose. We've got like very loose, bold loose, and then my quite fine. This is what this is. I really like that actually. Might do something with that. And this is what I love about showing you my sketchbooks. I get inspiration as well. I didn't really enjoy these ones too much. I can't even see what the prompts were. I enjoy the more architectural style though. I think this one was based on me, and whenever it's based on me, I don't really like it. However, we've got the good old Nike tick. And then I think this day was Helmet, and we were watching The Mandalorian at the time, so what perfect example to pop in here. And it's also a perfect example where you don't have to fill in to get these really dark patches, so it's just like layering up these lines or making them thinner. Again, a completely different style. I don't choose. This is me experimenting, and I'd advise to do it because I had loads of fun with this one. So I think this one was Compass, and we've got Crash as well. So quite bold, quite visual. Not all those who wander are lost. I wish I could say that. No, I don't. Coming into, I've lost the number of days we're on, but we've got moon phases. Again, such a simple thing, but I really love drawing the moon phases, and I love watching the moon as it goes through these phases as well. And then a Celtic knot, I believe. So if you follow this round, we've got one knot here that's kind of the jagged edges, and then one knot which is the smooth lines in here. And I really want to cross stitch one of these, but I don't know if I have the guts to, because they're so pretty. Simplifying down again, just a simple line drawing. I kind of gave up at this stage, I'm not gonna lie to you. Inktober is very hard for me. I can't do prompts, I don't know why. And again, it just splat extinct. It just, I did it for doing its sake. But then I got a little bit of inspiration back. So I can't remember what this is. It's together or join or electricity or something, but it's that joining of two tendrils kind of thing. And I think that's, I want to say a bridge with all the forestry around it. And then I got madly into single line designs, and when I say madly, I say madly. A little bit of a break here. This is a blank one, but it's... If you ever had that time in school where it's like, we're going to draw some blank shapes and then we're going to fill them with different types of line. It's basically the exercise I did here, and I actually had loads of fun doing it. So if you need a break from your usual, I would suggest drawing a bunch of lines, drawing a hill, drawing a squiggly line, and then in each gap you draw a different design, so dots, zigzag lines, little motions like this, like little waves. I did dotted lines here, circles. I don't even know how I made that. I think it was just drawing the 3 lines and then adding on from there. But this is what I mean by my single line drawings. I went crazy, and it was Christmas a couple of years ago, maybe 2-3 years ago. And I just kept finding more and more inspiration. And these, believe it or not, each individual one I think was a single line, or I tried to do a single line. A couple failed, a couple did better than others. And so for this one, I've always wanted a monstera. I finally have one. She's a baby. She's about literally like an A4 page. A4? A5. But it was an agreement between my husband and I that I would only get one if it was tiny, because the rate at which plants grow in our house is incredible, even without any extras, so just water. I'm also quite a big astro nerd, let's call it. I really wanted to do astrophysics at uni, but my grades were unfortunately not high enough, and looking back I don't think I had the amount of passion that I did for art when I went to uni. However, it still comes out every now and then in my doodles, in my drawings. And I carried on that circle theme. I really like a boundary sometimes. And it makes for some sweet things. A little campfire. And then these are larger versions of, so I did tiny ones about this big, about like a quarter of the size, in a previous sketchbook, which I believe I might have already shown you. But I decided to make these big. I wanted to put some watercolour paint with it, but I never got round to it. As for me, this is more of the style that I like. If I added watercolour, I fear that I would ruin them. And then the other two. So we've got the Las Vegas sign. This is, oh, I can't remember now. I was going to say Dubrovnik, but completely the wrong country. It's Zabriskie Point, that was it, in Las Vegas. And it is basically where a huge glacier went through. Like, the distance between here and over here is absolutely huge. And even photos don't do it justice nowadays. And then you've got the Grand Canyon here. And Hoover Dam. So just some of the places that we explored while we were in Vegas. And this is where I kind of start diverging between my lines pieces and my single line pieces. So if you follow my account regularly, or any of my other socials, you'll know that I do these sort of meditative drawings, and this is where they started. I just drew a shape and began to fill them. And as I say, interspersed with all the single line drawings. So these literally you can follow through, and it is one line that follows through the whole piece, all the way down to the bottom. So as you can tell, it was Christmas themed again. Before jumping back into those lines pieces. So it's the experimentation with finding the boundary and showing the boundary, especially as the like triangles converge in the centre here. And then the layering. So this is where I started that love of layering and getting this intricacy in the centre, between these. And this is what inspired me to do those larger pieces. Not my favourites, but I enjoyed the experimentation. So having the larger shape here and then cutting out smaller ones. Before, of course, getting back to our single line Christmas drawings. With our reindeer, our bells. And I actually used some of these line drawings in the Christmas window that I did for Ask Italian in Oxford a couple of years ago. And then these were inspired by a commission that I did of a golfing rabbit. It was for the rabbit's family, and it was always a joke that it was a rabbit. So again, here's these doodles like we saw at the very beginning. I'm just experimenting with each line as we go out, seeing how the message conveys throughout. I'm not one of those people who can do one of these massive mandalas. I would absolutely love to, but I find that I just repeat too much, and I don't have the guts to be able to do this very large and making sure that they're all the same size. I have much respect for the people who create those. And this again you might recognise from the beginning as well. These are always really sweet to draw. And this one really confused me because you have to go across yourself, down, up, and then across yourself. It's like stitching. But yeah, it baffled me. But I kind of got used to it during the... No, I lie, I didn't. It was really difficult as well on the sort of straight ones, the rectangular ones. Because again, you have to come past yourself, like either way you have to go past yourself to be able to draw, but you don't do it on the next one, so you can see that they're in pairs. Before celebrating birthdays, you can see that, as I said, I went mad with these line drawings. Obviously celebrating the Queen's Jubilee. And we had a sculpture trail in Swindon called the Swindogs, and unfortunately I didn't get the opportunity to paint one. However, I then did do some designs, some single line drawings. And then this is where my portraiture came back into play. So I kind of come in and out of this, and I start to experiment with a single line of colour as well. So this one is gold. I'm not sure if it'll shimmy for you. There we go. So you can see where I went above and below the line. Kind of matching the flow of the line. Back to the rabbits. I don't know why I've switched so much between not mediums, but styles and what I was drawing. But I just couldn't help myself but that by then, right, here's a single matter, and then layering the colour, but as well as other subjects. I think they worked quite well. I think they're quite sweet. So I started trying around with colour and seeing what works better. Like the browns, I find that they kind of merge more into one, but you're still distinctive, whereas all the sort of pets, so I say pets, elephant, dog, cat and pig, the cat is way more intense, and then you can see the pig behind, whereas the dog and the elephant kind of get lost in the ether. But then while flicking through the good old Pinterest and sometimes Instagram, I was inspired to do a couple of animal ones. They didn't quite turn out as I wanted, but they were really interesting to do because you had to plan without planning. I know that in technical English that doesn't make sense, but you had to plan where your shape was and kind of where your lines would hit to make sure that it created the shape that you want. And so then I decided to play around with shape in that. and then back to the lines. And you can see sort of through my experimentation with pen, with ink, that this has become a lot more refined. And then this was the inspiration for my latest large scale lines piece, including the blue, quite vivid against the black. And I think it's actually swapped in the larger piece, so the blue is less vivid than the black, and the black really stands out, but they work very well together. So literally a single blank page. I think that's the only blank page now at the moment, because I don't know why I started from the back, I just did. But these were for, what was it? The January project. The January creative project. Just getting little prompts. And I found these a lot easier because it wasn't just artists doing this. It wasn't for just visual artists. It was music artists. It was, you know, people, everyday people off the street. It was photographers, just everyone and anyone. It wasn't just these are drawings. And that was something quite beautiful to see. And it allowed me to really come into my own with what I was creating. So all of these are dots. And then my backpack. So this is actually one of my own plants, who's a little bit annoying to look after. She either loves being alive or she doesn't. There's no in between. So she's a careful balancing act. I think this one was Princess, and the moment I heard that, I thought of Once Upon a December, which is in Anastasia, which is probably the single most sung Disney song in this house, considering that we are not a Disney family. It's quite impressive. A little bit of typography. And then this, I believe, it was listening to a song. You had to draw or express the song, so you can see where it's soft and flowing and then got really scatty and then sort of like went this round and round in circles before kind of flowing but not quite touching. And then this is shadows. This is really fun. So I am a massive Lego fan, if you haven't heard already, and this is either three different shadows of my Lego flowers. Oh, I lied! There are a couple more blank pages. A little handful there. There we go. Some bright colours. So at the back here, this is where I more or less experimented with colour in those styles. This one on the left was a January Creative Challenge one. So here are important numbers of dates that I recognise, or important numbers, and we had to connect them. So all these little lines are those connections, and then I added in colour because it felt like the right thing to do. Might recognise this one. Can't remember why I did that one. Just fancied some colour. Why not? And this is where I was like, what about my lines in colour? And wow, that orange is bright. But I definitely see those waves a little bit more clearer, believe it or not, than between the thick and the thin lines of the blue. And I really had fun with coloured pen. So working out if, you know, you could layer different colours and what colours would work. And you kind of see the yellow gets drowned out, but you can see it, especially in this orange here. Whereas in this purple and this green and blue, they do sit on one on top of each other, but they are also a little bit more obvious. I think my favourite one at the moment is this one. It's just that much clearer. And that's what led me to experiment with the blue and the black. The thin and the thick. and then my first experimentation with colour. And this was a personal mindfulness exercise that I just stuck in at the back, because being colour coordinated is quite cool. Thank you for joining me as I have a look through the sketchbook again. It's inspired a couple of little things. That lemon tree at the beginning I find adorable. I really want to do something with it. If anyone wants to get it tattooed, I feel like that would be really cute. Don't know why. But I am now off to complete a couple of commissions, well, complete one, start another, do some painting, this, that and the other, and have a finish of a couple of projects as well, which I'll hopefully be able to update you on soon, especially with a couple of admin emails that are coming in that are quite important for the future of Charlotte Abraham Art, which is all very exciting, but I should be off to be able to get those done. Enjoy the rest of your week, enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope that you enjoy yourself.